Okay, so this is the start of the work session of the Woodland Park Planning Commission, July 24th, 2025. And so our topic this evening is the code review project, review and discussion, part 973, I think. Okay, so the burning question I'm sure you all have is how many comments were posted to Conveo at the end of the day? I had Jen give me that tally. And we were at 359,
Whoa.
and we are grinding through every single one of them. So, and like I said, I sent emails or talked to voice messages with a couple of you guys in terms of definitely sending a time to visit with you about some of your comments and answer questions that you had, that kind of thing. But we want to make sure we get through all of the comments first and do that so I can have the conversation holistically. And we're also looking at, in terms of giving you guys feedback in terms of what was incorporated, what wasn't. Jen and I were talking about a very clear red line for you. You won't see like every little comma or adjustment, but like the probably lead things that like this section gets moved over here or something was reorganized. So that's our plan on that. So you can see what we did from version 2 versus what's ultimately going to the city attorney. And so as we've worked through those comments and stuff, one of the things that we had no intention of touching, but unfortunately because of the state of Colorado and their elimination of the word family and most of what we do, it necessitated some zone district label changes. And so what we originally put in that version 2 proposal that you guys were looking at was to do those changes with the least amount of impact. And so it really was just the residential zones that were impacted by that. And so I have a couple of them here that I just want to go through real quickly. The mobile home park district, well, that does not include the word family, and it's MHP is that current designation. That term mobile home park is one that you just don't see anymore. So manufactured home is the preferred terminology in today's world. And so what we had originally put in the proposal was a manufactured home park. And still that nomenclature or the designation of MHP. So that was nice that it had very little impact and it was a subtle change that we could potentially put in place. We did have the suggestion around manufactured home community as to whether or not that should possibly be considered as the name of that zone district. I had a couple of concerns around that. One of the biggest ones being because of how manufactured homes are constructed and utilized, and you see these like all over Florida and Arizona, that in a standard zoning district, like a suburban residential district, some of these larger developers can come in and develop a manufactured home community that meets everything under that regular zone district. So that's kind of my bigger hesitation around that might not be the best nomenclature for a specific zone district. And then for whatever it's worth, went back and looked at the model codes that the state had put together, and they actually use that what we had proposed, a manufactured home park in that state code for meeting that type of what historically had been a mobile home park. So don't know what your thoughts are. If you really want manufactured home community, we can go there. But I just wanted to make sure you guys saw that one and that what we were considering and looking at.
So if our use of the term is entirely consistent with the state's use of the term, I'm a huge proponent of using the same term.
I agree with Don.
So do I.
Okay, you guys are comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, that was the easy one. And then the next two districts I put in there just for reference to keep it in front of everybody's eyes. That, our suburban residential is the lower density, single family home zone. Urban residential is a little higher density, but also primarily single family homes that you see in that zone district. So SR and UR are those nomenclatures. Oh, and in this handout I've got you, the left column is everything that we currently use. The middle column was what we had proposed in that version 2. And then the next column is some naming options. And then I just got an extra note over on the far right column for one of the items. So anyhow, suburban residential, urban residential, no changes, no issues, no concerns. Life is good. It's when we get into what we currently call our multifamily residential districts. The multifamily residential suburban and the multifamily residential urban districts. Because it had the word family in it, in the version 2, we had actually put in there multiple dwelling residential suburban or multi-dwelling residential, both suburban and urban. So keeping the nomenclature as close as possible to what we currently had. We did run into issues because the version that went out to you all was not nearly as polished as we would have liked. There was a little inconsistency in there in terms of whether it was multi-dwelling, multiple dwelling. So it was just something that was flagged. And then of course it's kind of a tongue twister and long. So the next column is some.
Karen,
Yes, Ken?
I have a question. So the state went from, the family dwelling or the family term to the household, so did multiple household units not, that, wasn't that what they were changing everything to?
Well, the part of the issue with that is in the world of building things, people build dwelling units. A household occupies a dwelling unit. So that's why we were steering away from where you're going.
Yeah, and
That's
one
fine.
thing-
I just,
Think ahead of you, I went to that same thing in my head just before you spoke.
Well, the only thing I would say
That's
is like, even in the lending world, they call it multi-unit residential suburban or multi-unit residential urban.
Unit
Just
of-
because
Unit
like,
Of what?
that's just what they call it. I
Which
mean,
is why we go with dwelling unit.
multi-unit. Yeah. But like over in the attached suburban, I think you can also like patio homes. I mean, they're not necessarily attached to each other, so I would steer away from.
Yeah, I wouldn't use word
the
attached.
attached.
Too much
Yeah.
baggage.
I think that's already included within the purpose and intent, so.
So you don't like the word attached?
That there can be some that are not attached to each
Not the
other.
way we've got it structured.
Okay.
Just to
There's
be
some
clear.
history there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that goes back to tiny homes and
Yeah, tiny homes, patio.
yeah, no,
homes.
so, and to that end, under the intent for both of those, for lack of a better phrase, the multifamily districts is the exempt. There's, some language in there that says, intended to accommodate. And, it was strongly recommended to get rid of that phrase, within the purpose or intent of those two zoning districts. So you will see that happening. So it's not just intended to accommodate, it is to accommodate attached housing. And when you look at the use table, these things don't blend back and forth. The only place you see single-family homes and duplexes, townhomes, apartment buildings, all potentially in the same zoning districts, is the commercial zone districts. That's in Woodland Park. That's the only place you see that stuff show up together. No, it's.
I know what you're saying.
So I like what you suggested. The part of me wanting consistency would love to see all the residentials end with an R and all the commercials end with a C. Just for keeping it very simple, keep it clear, but that's probably a polishing the rock comment. Other than that, I like what you suggested.
Okay. So currently in our code, when we look at the use table, it is the detached homes that show up in the SR and the UR zones, and detached homes do not show up in the multifamily zone districts now. I think historically they did, which is how we ended up with tiny homes. But that was all corrected. So anytime you are doing duplexes, attached single-family homes like townhomes, or apartment buildings in those multifamily zones, they need to all touch each other, sharing walls, roofs, that kind of thing. And then they're all subject to conditional use permits in those zone districts. So going back to naming those zone districts, and like I said, somewhat building off of what we already had, you know, that's where, like I said, we ended up with the multi or multiple dwelling, districts, MDS, MDU. We can clean that up for consistency, but then we also had, some other suggestions there to the right. The only one that gives me a little heartburn is the one with the note attached to it, where the, second from the bottom, urban residential attached. That acronym is URA, which is more commonly used for urban renewal authority. So I think that's potentially, confusing and problematic. So that's one I'd like to scratch, but for consistency, thought I'd throw it out there in the options. So that's where we are. We can use some of the new options, or we can clean up what was proposed in the version 2. I guess I'm looking forward or looking for guidance from you guys in terms of what you're most comfortable with.
I'm comfortable with proposed new names,
So,
MDS and MDU. I appreciate the creativity on the third column, but
Mhm. Mhm. Certainly I like the idea of using the word dwelling instead of household, because
Yeah.
you're right.
Yeah, what do you
Good
build?
help,
You don't
well,
build a
yeah.
household, you build a dwelling unit.
How about the word unit, multiple unit? Unit.
Well, then if somebody comes in and tells you I'm building commercial condos, I've got business units. Not that that's defined anywhere. So that's why I was really trying to stick to dwelling or dwelling unit,
Okay, makes sense.
which goes back to just the vocabulary that we've got in our definitions.
Well, the proposed new change for suburban and urban or no change. We used the word residential in both those. I think it's important to include the word residential in the new ones as well. So I agree with what Ken just said. The names as proposed look pretty good.
Okay, and we'll clean up for consistency then. So multiple dwelling residential suburban and multiple dwelling residential urban. Which
Okay
is,
with that?
yes,
it's
Yeah.
very,
Yep.
it's very close
Yeah.
to what we currently have. So it's a very subtle, kind of easy
Yep.
transition.
Yep.
Okay,
The other issue's been taken care of with about the attached, so that's fine.
I mean, just for consistency, would it be better to do multiple dwelling suburban residential, since it's up here as suburban residential? And then like to, then like you would end in the Rs again? Like you could be like MD, MDSR, MDUR. That makes sense?
I think so. Like I said, the only reason we did what we did here was because it was just really that word exchange based on what's there now, because
Okay.
I mean, I appreciate what you're saying, Don, Hoying, about wanting everything to end in residential. It doesn't do that
I'm
now.
not hard over on that.
Yeah.
Just re-
Interestingly, in the state's code, they start everything with residential. You know, and Jen and I even had the conversation at one point about what about R1, R2, R3, R4? And I'm like, well, that's where they were back in the 60s.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all
I
right,
like
so,
the second column.
okay. I can make that happen.
We all agree with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm hearing no dissension.
Ken?
And then since this came up tonight, I do want to talk briefly about extensions. Because we covered that
Wait,
very.
before we go on, sorry, I forgot, I couldn't find the mute to get back on. Help me understand it, because in the 2 paragraphs in the handout you sent me, one says multiple dwelling suburban residential, and the other one says multiple dwelling residential urban. So is it gonna be residential and then urban and then suburban dash residential? Are we being consistent, or are we being one to one way and one the other?
Yeah, Ken, and I'm sorry, I didn't realize that we lost you. You showed up the whole time here for me. The second column, the proposed new name, the group is comfortable with using that column. So that's where we
The table.
landed.
Yes.
MDS and MDU.
Yeah, but in the paragraph headings, they're not the same way. So that we're gonna use what's in the table.
Yes,
If you go down to the sections, it's multiple dwellings, suburban dash residential in the paragraph.
Paragraph,
have
what
paragraph.
paragraph where?
2.0505.
What are you looking at?
No, I'm sorry, 2.0504. No. Paragraphs don't match what's in the table.
Okay,
It's 2.0506.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was
Multiple
part of the
dwelling.
point. That was part of the point is, when we sent out that version for you guys to all do your review, it was not highly polished, so there were inconsistencies in there, which is part of what flagged the need for us to have this conversation. So tonight's conversation was what to call those, different zone districts, so we can go back and make that correction, and get that cleaned up. I just want to make sure we were going a direction you
Yep.
all expected. So we
Okay,
landed
I-
on the table that's, in the handout I sent you, Ken, the second column is where the group was wanting to go.
Yeah, I think in our proposed,
So table 2.03-1
No, no.
might be helpful if you share the screen with the, or you probably don't have it electronically, do you?
Hang on.
It's just hard for me to follow what paragraph and page you're talking about because you broke up for a minute there and I missed part of what you were saying.
CJ pass out a handout here that we're looking at.
I emailed it to you, Ken.
I'm looking at it too, but I just don't know if I'm in the same place.
Yeah, hang on. I'm trying to like,
Yeah.
where's the?
You said the table, but is it table 2.03-1 or?
It's
Says
a
zone.
PDF in the email I just sent you.
Says zone districts name revisions, 24 July 25 across the top.
we're not on the same page.
I'm trying to get the
Literally.
page up there, but it's like,
And then once you get it open, there's several columns and there's the proposed name change column. And what we were talking about here was we were in agreement with the accepting the proposed new name column.
Oh, all I have is the chapter 2. I didn't have what you're looking at.
Okay.
That's why it wasn't making sense. Thank you. I'll go back on mute. I'll pull it up when I get it.
well,
So just to be clear, multifamily residential suburban district will go to multiple dwelling residential suburban, abbreviated MDS. Multifamily residential urban district will go to multiple dwelling residential urban, abbreviated MDU.
I like the idea that Ken said about changing the word residential and suburban around. That way it's consistent with the previous two, suburban residential and urban residential. So it'd read multiple dwelling suburban residential, multiple dwelling urban residential.
So you'd want it MDSR, MDUR.
I wouldn't change the abbreviation.
No,
Oh,
okay, so
okay.
on the screen, Ken, you should see a table. That's what I emailed. And this was the table for the purposes of conversation tonight. This left column, the current name, as much as it's backwards when you get to MFS and MFU, that is exactly how it's in our regs now. And so the proposed name, like I said, I know we need to clean things up for consistency in the document itself, the proposed regulations. But this was kind of the direction we were headed. But if you guys want us to, we can change this to multi-dwelling suburban residential, multi-dwelling urban residential. Is that what you're telling me?
yeah, because it's consistent with the two previous ones. We start out with suburban residential, urban residential.
So
Multifamily.
Karen, just go ahead and look at what you did send me because that isn't the document you did send me. You sent me a chapter 2
Oh,
code.
I'm sorry. No wonder you're confused.
All of us.
So I can definitely explain now what happened. I'm scrolling through chapter 2, trying to find what table you're looking at and all this stuff.
And we had no idea what you were talking
Yeah.
about.
And then it's got the paragraph number and then it's got it backwards one way and different way, another way. And I'm not even on the same planet as you guys. Sorry about that.
So again, I'm gonna recommend for the current name, multifamily residential suburban, that we change that to multi-dwelling suburban residential and multi-resident dwelling urban residential.
And
Let's
keep
be
the-
really clear. You want multi,
Basis divided.
multiple dwelling.
Just flip, the last two words in both those.
Yep.
Guess you can get rid of the hyphen
Okay,
or keep it, I don't care.
I would delete it, but like I said, I'm just working off of what we had to start with.
No, we never do anything easy, Karen.
I
No,
know.
don't comment.
That was rhetorical.
Okay. I think I've got consensus. Second column, change the order of the word, the last two words for each of the multifamily districts. In other words, we're good to go.
Yep,
Yep.
yep,
Yes.
yep, yep.
Okay. And I'm gonna stick with a 3-letter acronym.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
It'd be so helpful if we didn't have to change the zoning map, but,
That's like a editorial or Scrivener's kind of correction for consistency, as opposed to actually changing district boundaries, in my opinion, so.
So you're right. I mean, in our proposed code, we have definitions for, excuse me. We establish zoning districts in one section, and then we have the use table with all zone districts and what's allowed in each. So all those things need to be consistent.
Yeah, it's a lot of details to plow through and cross-check and cross-check and cross-check. So,
What else you got for code revisions in there?
well, not so much revisions, but I was gonna follow up from our conversation we were just having, related to extensions. Like I said, since we spent so much time working on chapter 6 and approvals, and that was a whole other separate discussion we had where we talked about just the fact that you guys see these fairly frequently, and the direction you all had given us back then was first extension happens administratively at the planning staff level. Second extension comes before planning commission. If there's a need for a third extension, that's what goes through planning commission for a recommendation and ultimately decision by city council. And so the language that's in that version that we sent to you guys for review, it basically documents what the direction I've always operated under in the past 3.5 years, my understanding of how Woodland Park does things, is a maximum of 3 extensions of 2 years each may be sought for projects that meet the following criteria. The first one is the request for an extension is filed prior to the expiration date. The second is the applicant is able to demonstrate substantial progress is being made on the application. And then the third one is the circumstances or conditions existing at the time of the original approval have not materially changed. So that's what's in the proposed document.
We spent a lot of time
Mhm.
discussing all those points.
Yeah, so I mean, we're holding true to where we are. So, and I just thought, since it was fresh, I just thought I'd like refresh memories again,
That's a
so,
good, very good idea.
so that's all. So, I'm not looking for changes. In other words, that is all I had this evening. Like I said, Jen and I are going through all 359 comments and getting things pulled together so that, the objective is to get that out to the city attorney very early next week so that, she can start her legal review of what's being proposed. We want that document to be far more polished than, what you guys looked at. And like I said, we'll be getting back to you guys, what this looks like, in terms of what went to her versus what you guys were seeing and commenting on. Like I said, I'll be following up with several of you to just answer questions and review things. And I know you guys were looking for, hey, what happened to my comments? So Jen and I are working on terms of how do we get that back to you? So you can see what was taken care of and how. So,
I think it's very important to have the city attorney's review. Cause if there's something that's glaring that she identifies that we need to readdress, we need time to absorb that and do that. And at the same time, I think it's very important that you have the authority and your blessing from us to make the best judgments call you can from all the comments.
yeah.
I'm sure all these 359
59.
comments are not always going to be, the same. They might be addressing the same issue, but it might be a different way to look at it, or a completely different opinion.
Well, and interestingly, there wasn't a lot of things that clustered together where it was like, oh no, this really needs to be discussed again.
Yeah.
There really wasn't a lot of that. It's more like just sprinkles throughout.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, no, which is why, I know you guys were a little frustrated after the last work session, but I didn't have like big things at that point in terms of, okay, we clearly got this all wrong. There was nothing glaring. So it doesn't mean as we continue to grind through this, that something doesn't pop up. If that does, we'll pile on with a work session again like this, because I know when I need you.
Well, it would really be nice next time we have a work session that we look at the version that's been reviewed by staff, reviewed by city council, and that is polished, and there's nothing hanging out saying, we need to do a little bit more work on this. Those all go away. A version that looks complete.
Yeah, no, and after the city attorney review, I'm really hoping that it is just like the mandated legalese kind of things that we just have to live with. And then from there, we need to get this out to the community as a whole. This has been a working document or a work product. And so, really looking at a 30-day, window for those folks where we do, an unveiling, and kind of an orientation to the document for the community as a whole, and give those folks that opportunity, because you need to know what those folks are saying.
Exactly.
As part of anything that gets incorporated into the document that goes through the hearing process. So that's kind of where we are, is we got to get through legal review, then we need to engage the community as a whole, and then finalize what is the document we want to conduct the hearing on.
We want you to go out to the community by saying, this is the planning commission's recommendation.
Yeah.
Cause that goes a long way. And they may agree or disagree. There may be an instance that they have a project they worked on in their neighborhood that they had a concern about was not addressed the way they thought it should be.
Yeah.
They should have the opportunity to say, well, that didn't work the first time. Why you're continuing that? You don't go far enough, so on and so forth.
That's nice guidance, Larry. Thank you. And then the other thing that we saw in the document, those 359 comments, is every once in a while, there's a comment where somebody's flagging a standard in terms of this doesn't make sense. An example of that would be the conditional use permit for multifamily housing in a multifamily zone. But that's the way this community wants it. So as much as it doesn't make sense from a zoning standpoint, we're keeping it. Another one, Larry, you flagged, was the fact that in our PUD zone district, we have a clear density limitation of 2 dwellings per acre, which is completely contrary to what a PUD is supposed to be able to accomplish. Which is creativity and density and anyhow, that's where we are.
And you
So-
can't have solar panels.
Yeah, so that's the kind of metric that we're not touching, because that's a much larger kind of conversation around metrics and standards. That needs a whole other kind of engagement process. So as much as it's kind of just goes counter to traditional planning or good planning practices, and promoting excellent development, we're kind of stuck with it for now. It kind of goes on the list of other things to be considered in the future.
And you know what, when we go to the city council and we offer our recommendations, we say, we have built a foundation here
Mhm.
for future things. And here's some of the things we think we ought to address.
Yeah.
Affordable housing, just like you said, making PUDs flexible. Just by listing those things, they can see that we were trying to keep on track and be true to our word that we're just trying to make a good foundation, make it easy to understand for somebody to pick up and understand what they had to do a project. So we're waiting. We're willing to.
Yeah, no, it really is getting a good structure. I once had a conversation with, other code consultants out there that, development codes are like cars. And in my world at the time, very small community, low budget, that you can get everything from, the Ford Fiesta to, the Bentley, and there's everything in between. And for that community, and I think Woodland Park's not quite this, but for that community, I was looking for the Toyota Corolla that was gonna go the distance. Here, we need more bells and whistles. We've got a few of those in the code, so we kind of need, what's Toyota's next one up? Is it, Lexus? Yeah, that's kind of what we're after. We need more of a Lexus.
At least you didn't start with a U though.
Yeah. no. Well, I wasn't always sure if everybody knows what that is. That's kind of embarrassing occasionally when I have to explain things to my team.
Hey, 98% of all Yugos sold are still on the side of the road.
I'm sure they are.
Karen, you made a comment a minute ago
Uh-huh.
that that's all you had. Can I add a question to the topic while we're doing a little work session here?
Sure.
Or just to open up a little quick discussion. We've had 3 multifamily development projects in recent time that have come up. The duplexes by Tractor Supply, the townhome in the Stonebridge area, not just a little bit to the side of the Tamarack development with the apartments. And most of these have some level of adjacent public comment where the people don't really want those multifamily zones next to their single family or SR zoned properties being developed as their zone. Their issue isn't with a particular person probably or a particular development. It's the fact that it's a multifamily deal going in next to their single family area. But they're in the comprehensive plan that way. That's what has been approved. That's what's been chosen to pave the zone. And there's the whole affordable housing right up in the comprehensive plan and all these things that we're basically saying, this is what we plan to do, everybody. And now that we're doing it and people are saying, hey, we'll build what you want in that zone in your city and we'll bring in additional people and business and sales tax, that presumably is good for the city and more affordable housing. So is there something we need to do to kind of clarify that we're following the comprehensive plan? We're approving projects that were planned to be going in there for more than a few years now. And we're happy to have people come and develop these pieces of land that we want developed in that regard for our city's way it's supposed to look and come together.
Okay.
Because,
So you
I hate to just let them keep coming and arguing that they don't want it, but it's already been decided.
what you're laying out is as old as time, I think.
Yeah, it's a natural tension.
Say, Larry, when did you start as a planner?
Let's see. 1989.
1989, and they were having these conversations before you started.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So these are the very typical conversations. The acronym is NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Yep.
And that's why going through very public processes around developing comprehensive plans, the public hearings that we do, The staff reports that you guys see reference back to the comp plan. How does this fit with the zoning district? If somebody's wanting to change the zoning district, that gets a high level of scrutiny. So it's kind of just.
I do have one, I have an extension to this conversation I want to throw in here. Don Detzelman and I saw some comments in one of the blog sites about the Les Schwab tire store.
Yeah,
And it occurred to me when I was reading that their comment was, do we really need another tire store? And I thought, well, we may not need it in Woodland Park, but the rural community of Colorado that comes to Woodland Park to shop and wants to bring sales tax revenue to Woodland Park may want more tires options.
well,
And I've been to the other store and can't get stuff, but the question I had was, we've got a limited amount of commercial zone space left. And it's not getting developed really rapidly, but it occurred to me, do we have any sales targets that we need to generate out of the remaining commercial property that needs to be considered when we decide what kind of business should go in on a piece of commercial property? Now they're zoned for different types of commercial, and there's different uses that are set up, but should we be looking at, is a Les Schwab tire store generating significantly more revenue and sales tax revenue for the city for that piece of land that we're going to commit to something versus a taco restaurant?
So Ken, maybe it's even more poignant if you flip that over. What if we only had one grocery store? I think in the community, we would see that, we got no competition, we got no variety. Is it the city's job, if you will, to make sure that the commercial base appropriately serves the residents?
yeah, you gotta let the invisible hand work there. You can't stifle what people wanna try to put in. Let the market figure it out.
Well, I'm all for free market, let the market decide, but it just did occur to me that there's a sales tax component based on the amount of revenue and these retail establishments are going to generate, that we've got this limited amount of land. How many things do we want to approve that don't generate much sales tax for what we have left versus something that may generate quite a bit of sales tax?
You might be running into problems too with the city charter as far as encouraging business.
Or incentivizing. Okay,
Right.
Ken, you're asking great questions and you're thinking very strategically. But in Colorado, you don't see that type of targeted planning happen very often. I had a conversation years ago with a planner with the city and county of Denver, and that was more based on like a neighborhood kind of focus. And what in this particular neighborhood, we need some type of commercial outlet or grocery store, because you hear about like food deserts where there's not a grocery store available. So you can see that happen. But
A
that's
lot of communities say we want a technology park because we want a certain high level paying job market
not where
in our
Woodland
area.
is based on what's in our comprehensive plan. And
Oh, I
we
know.
that
We don't have industrial parks. We're not trying to do job creation. We're trying to,
Yeah,
do a lot of retail.
with city council, it's been a while, but they on multiple occasions have talked about the free market and what is the market demand? What does the market want? Somebody who's, somebody might tell you, well, the market wants short-term rentals. Somebody else tells you the market wants other type of housing. So, it just kind of, it's all over the place. And I don't do the market studies. But we do evaluate, what people bring to us. So like I said, since I've been here, we've not had a rezone request. I think we just got one for a small piece of property you'll see later in August. But for the most part, I've not had to process one.
Yeah, it seems
Yeah.
in terms of public comment that maybe there's an underappreciation how important the zoning process is. Because once it's zoned, it says we zone it multi-dwelling, right? Well, then we send the signal to the commercial world, hey, come develop your multi-dwelling, properties here. So, and then when they do, we best be poised to be favorable to that.
Well,
as
and
an
it's, and
example.
you're also looking for them to demonstrate through the conditional use permit process, how they're meeting all those standards so that they're producing a quality development or quality project
Right.
for our community.
Yeah.
So it's not just open the door, hey, build whatever.
But
you
once it's
want.
zoned that way, when someone comes in and tries to develop as it was zoned, it's a little late to shut the barn doors, they say.
I know,
And you're right, Don, that the zoning portion of our proposed unified development code is a very strong tool to implement the comprehensive plan. It's the most important tool.
Yep.
To do that. And getting back to you, Ken, the right forum for that is with the revision of the comprehensive plan. And it's scheduled to be revised every 10 years. So I mean, it's gonna happen in 2030, which is gonna be coming very quickly.
because we'll start it a couple of years before, like we did these.
Yeah.
We may or may not be done with this code update by then.
No, don't say that.
Yes, please don't say that.
It feels that way to me some
I
days, just,
understand.
just so we're clear,
I
like, you know.
understand.
So that's why you see provisions in the zoning code always referring, does it comply with the intent of the comprehensive plan? It doesn't say, does it comply with the words and written on a piece of paper. It says the intent of the comprehensive plan. It gives you some avenue to say, well, you know, we probably didn't think about that at the time.
And our comp plan is very clearly aspirational.
Right.
It is
Yes.
not required or demanded
Thank
or a
you.
clear direction. It's an aspiration that we may or may not aspire to.
And that's what the people at the time that helped develop that comprehensive plan said they wanted.
Well, I was gonna say, I was the one that came before you to present that you had to have that word in there.
Yeah. That's exactly,
So,
exactly.
So anyhow, that's where we are on the plan or the code update.
We're gonna back up on the agenda and go to reports. And it sounds like we're gonna have a couple of meetings in August.
Yes, we are. I've got hearing items coming up. Let's see, the first meeting in August, the PUD amendment and a master plan extension. And then the second one in August, where did it go? Oh, that's the rezone. Yeah, and then, a PUD and preliminary plat amendment. So,
So we meet both times.
yeah, but both meetings in August,
What days are those?
the 14th and the 28th.
Okay.
Yep. So,
And we'll see the shiny, clean version of the UDC when it's ready.
yeah, I'm sure the city attorney's gonna need at least 3 weeks, if not 4, to get through all that. So. Yeah, it's probably into September before we have anything back to you all. Is kind of what I'm estimating right now.
So we're not hearing any rumblings of any new ordinances, so, so we're in a sweet spot.
Not that I'm aware of, in terms of another ordinance change.
Yeah.
But that's all that means is sometimes my little back corner of City Hall doesn't connect to things that are going on.
And if you guys know any dates that you won't be available to meet in August or September, let Karen know as soon
Yeah,
as possible.
That's why I asked, but I'm good.
Yeah.
yeah,
know I'm
I
gonna-
should be good.
I'm going to be gone the first meeting in September. and
yep.
I wanted to be here for the
Now
unveiling
for
of
2
the
weeks, but somehow
UDC.
magically it fell on one of those 2 weeks where we have a 3-week gap, so.
So,
Are we offline?
no,
Okay,
you're still in a work session. If you need to adjourn, we can, but
okay. No,
In terms of reports, speaking more as a citizen, I think you probably have something to do with the PRAB and the staff here with the work that Team Rubicon did on the Avenger Open Space. They were exceedingly professional, did great work. if you had a question, they would explain what they were doing. So I was really
Yeah.
impressed.
We-
Just want to share that.
We were really, really impressed with what you did out there.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
They did a lot of, I can't think of the right word, fire mitigation, I guess, over at the Avenger open space. And I think they did some work a few other places, but I know they did a lot of work
Yeah.
down there,
Yeah.
which is why Don had a front row seat.
Do we have wayfinding signs out there yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
They all
We're,
know
we're,
each
we're-
other.
we're we're still working on getting the master plan for the land conservancy done.
Cause it gets a little confusing if you don't know where you're going.
Yeah.
I can tell you.
Yeah, take him or,
I know every trail and I made.
or
Right.
Lee's wife.
Yeah.
They can take you all over that property.
First time I went up there, I went all the way down to the old mining site.
Oh,
It's kind of neat, isn't it?
Yeah. But then.
it goes a lot farther.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, go grab Jerry. He can show you everything, all the
Well,
Oh,
thank-
yeah.
secrets.
Thank you for those comments, Don.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Anything?
Please share them with anyone in the office.
Okay, I will. Anything else for the work session? Staff does not have anything else for the work session, let's put it that way.
okay. We're done with reports. Let's go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Meeting adjourned.